Hi, and welcome to our special Friday the 13th edition of Talk Bloody to Me. I'm Matt, and there's Jason.
And I'm Brezzy.
What was that, Jason?
Breezy.
Oh, breezy. And tomorrow, we're recording this on Thursday the 12th. So tomorrow, when this airs, or when you probably see it, it'll be Friday the 13th. And I saw today online that June 13th is Jason's birthday. Did you know that, Jason Breezy? Jason Breezy didn't know. um, but today we are.
Just being a goofball.
It's like it's hard to respond when no one's talking to me. No, just kidding. But anyway, uh, today we a couple weeks ago we talked about Phantasm, the first one, and we were confused and bewildered. And a fan said, "You got to watch Phantasm 2 and 3, and then it's all gonna be better." So this week we are talking about Phantasm 2 and 3, and it's marginally
Yeah.
like it wasn't like a big ray of like, oh, now I get it. Like it's like no, some things are explained and some things do make a little bit more sense, but it's still kind of just all over the place and kind of
It is still confusing too.
yeah, exactly. And I watched both of these movies in just the last couple days, and I'm afraid that they're gonna get like merged together in my head, and I'm gonna get confused and talk about three and say it's in two, and vice versa. So I apologize in advance if I mess things up. But part two starts right where part one ends, and you find that Mike. Part one ended with Mike getting pulled through the mirror. In part two, you find out that his friend Reggie heard that and went to stop the attack and saved him. There's a bunch of those little Jawa dwarfs in there, and
Mhm.
he turned off all the pilot lights on, or he snuffed out all the pilot lights on the stove and turned up the gas so that the gas would eventually get to the fireplace and blow the house up. And then he rescues Mike, and they jump out the window, and kabloom, the house blows up.
I like that scene though.
Yeah, right.
It's like, oh, boom.
Yep. Good pyrotechnics. Bunch of little dwarfs burnt alive. So then, because the one Phantasm was in 1980, 1979, maybe, and this is
Are you
19,
talking about the first one?
yeah,
Yeah, that sounds correct. I
and
think
this,
this one was 1988.
yeah, 1988. And so
Okay.
to explain the 9 year gap, how the characters are all going to age 9 years, they say that Mike was in an insane asylum because apparently he told people that all the stuff that happened in the first movie, and they thought he's nuts, lock him up. And so there's a woman named Liz, girl, that she's having dreams, like psychic visions about Mike, and he's dreaming about her, and they're like communicating. And then Reggie shows up to save him, and there's an attack. It's a demon nurse attack. Or is
Can
that
you
in
just
part three?
imagine like a demon nurse?
Yeah, right. No, I think that's part three. I think this one he picks that's pardon me. See, I'm getting confused already. This one Reggie picks him up and they're driving home and he says that the whole thing with the dwarfs and the house blowing up and the pilot light and all that was just a dream. That never actually happened. And then Mike has a vision of the house blowing up and he says, "No, you got to get home." He's like, "My wife and kids are in there." Blam, the house blows up a second time. So once again, we're in this phantasm world of they show you something and then they tell you it didn't happen. And I'm like, wait,
Yeah,
so
that's like confusing still.
right? So it's like he at the end of the first movie, he said none of that actually happened. That was just a dream because your parents were killed in a car accident. And then the tall man busts through the mirror, and then Reggie saves him by blowing up the house. But then now they say that blowing up the house was just a dream, or that never actually happened. But then the house blows up for real. So
Yeah, it's like, which one is it? Did you dream about it or did it actually happen?
yeah,
God, I hate that.
and then it's like, well, how did he get away? So then, what actually did happen? Did he just go rant and raven until they locked him up? But I think that's kind of the whole point of the movie is that, or what they're trying to going for is that you're always sort of questioning, you don't know what's true and what's not. Um, but they end up going, they're going to hunt down the tall man and his minions and put a stop to him. And along the way, they find Liz, who was having the visions. And then they have more visions and more dreams of like a naked dead woman. And then they end up picking up a hitchhiker named Alchemy, who looks a lot like the naked dead woman that they had the visions of. And they really like picking up hitchhikers in the Phantasm movie. They like pick he likes picking up
Yeah, number
women.
two.
Yeah, exactly. So then they go to it's a morgue, and there's it's her dad. She's afraid that when her dad dies, that's when the tall man's gonna attack. And so then Liz's dad dies, and it's the funeral, and the priest has a big knife, and he's like stabbing it into the corpse because he doesn't want it to come back as an undead. And then the mom sees and is like, "Oh," it faints, or someone
D-
sees them
I could so see you doing that.
fainting or stabbing the thing with the knife.
Uh,
A little bit of both.
I was going to say a little bit of both.
Yeah. Because I could go nuts and be like, die, you undead beast. And then I could also see someone else doing that and go, ah, and faint. Um, but then, so the team is united. They are in the morgue, and once again, the morgue caretaker falls victim to the sphere, comes flying out, and it sticks in his hand the first time. But then eventually someone gets drilled in the head with the sphere.
Yeah, when I seen the second one when that happened, I was like, these balls,
Yep.
these balls would have to like go in the face. I'm like, how about something a little bit different? Like maybe in the chest or in the hand or somewhere on the body. Why does it have to be the head?
Yep, exactly. And then it does the exact same goofy effect too, where it goes whoop and then just kind of stops. It doesn't like smack or like it doesn't like make blood shoot out when it hits. It just goes whoop and then stops and then whee, it's like the dentist drill comes out. And where does all this crap hide inside these balls? Like, is there like, where do all these drills and blades and shit come out of from the ball? Because you see later that there's like a little brain inside the ball in part three. So where's the room
Yeah,
for all the drills and all the blades and whatnot?
well, maybe their brain is like teeny tiny, like a little, like an ant, who knows, or a bird brain, who knows? But the tall man, he knows it because he's the one probably made him.
That's a good point. Yep. There's the priest is this actor. His name's Kenneth Tiger or Tiger. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Tigar. But he shows up in a lot of different movies and like TV shows. And every time I see him, I think he looks like he has bad breath, which I don't know what that means exactly. But something about his face just makes. I'm sure he's a wonderful, nice person. But every time I see him, I'm like, that guy looks like he has bad breath.
What the heck? Why?
I don't know. For the love of God, I don't know.
So you see this person on a movie and you
Yep.
think this person has bad breath? Never heard of
Yeah.
that.
I must have, at some point in my life, I must have met a guy that looked a lot like maybe when I was like a little kid and very impressionable. And I met a guy that looked like him that had really horrible bad breath. And it's just permanently locked in my brain somewhere in my
Oh,
subconscious. I
man,
need
what
the
do I
tall
do
man.
with you?
I need the
What do
tall
I do
man.
with you?
That's, you need the tall man to dissect my brain and figure out what's wrong with it. Um, the tall man is trying to get back to the movie. Anyways, back. So the tall man is trying to get Mike, probably something with his psychic powers or something. He wants Liz and Mike, and they get attacked in the graveyard. But then old Reggie's got a grenade, and he's like, I'm gonna blow us all to pieces." And he's like, "I don't want him in pieces." And then he's like, "Well, too bad." So then he's like, "Fine," and then he leaves. Every time he sees him, he's like, "Boy." It's kind of cool.
Yeah, at first I was like, okay, one, that's kind of a little creepy, and two, it's like he always says, "Oh boy."
Yeah,
What
exactly.
he did talk a little bit on the first one. He did talk a little bit more on the second one.
Yep, exactly. Did he talk at all in the first one? I don't know if
I
he.
don't think. think he did
But in this one, he goes,
a little bit.
boy.
I think he did just a tad.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think you might be right. It's all just one big phantasmagoria mess in my brain right now. But anyway, they find out that they need a sphere to open the door to the dimensional gateway. And then there's a gold one that shoots laser beams.
I like
And
that one more.
yeah, that one's cool. Yeah, that seems more efficient than
Hmm.
the stupid drill in the face. And then oh, and this time when it goes in, it's not quite the tomato soup. It's more like the more like a spurt than a stream.
I know it's just, to me it's like okay, the first one, okay, that's fine, you know. But when
Hmm.
you come to like the second one, it's like we already knew how the ball works. That's what I
Exactly.
was saying. Like, how about pick something else on the body and not have it towards the head and squirt, blood or
Yeah.
blood in the first one. Second one's like more of a pussy yellow color.
Yeah. Yeah, some like yellow goop or whatever.
Yep.
Anyway, they put the one Reggie puts formaldehyde or some kind of acid in the tall man's embalming fluid, and then thinking that that's going to prevent him from making more servants. And then at some point, he's going to embalm someone's going to embalm Liz, and she tricks him into going into the frickin' cremation furnace. And
Are you
then,
talking about formaldehyde?
yeah, formaldehyde.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of two different things. So they tried to put someone was going to put Liz in like the cremation furnace, slide her in, and she pretended like she was passed out, but then at the last minute rolled away and then flipped the guy in the so he went head first down the chute into the fire. But you can't get rid of the tall man. He just keeps coming back. So they put later on he's trying to formaldehyde and they jab him with his own formaldehyde and the acid's in there so his body all melts away. But then later you see him, he's got a new tall man's got the melted body and like just kind of throws it through the gate, like, well, to hell with that one. Time for plan B. So,
Yeah, there that part did not make sense to me. Okay, he like got pretty much died with his formaldehyde acid.
yep,
He melts, and all of a sudden there's a new one coming out. It's like, okay, how where's this person come
right,
came about?
exactly.
That I can't understand. It's like, okay, he's melting and then a brand new person. So
There's
is
like a
there
closet
another
full of them. I think like there's he's got a room and you open it up and there's just like 20 tall men standing there, and then when one
or
dies, another one activates and comes out or
yeah,
something.
or what I'm was when I was thinking about it, I'm like, okay, well, since it's like the morgue,
Hmm.
so my mind went to, okay, maybe he passed away and the spirit lives on with him, and then all of a sudden, like that acid turned into like
That
a
could be.
spiritual human body. That's how
Mm.
my mind went.
I like that.
Hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, so they get away. Alchemy picks them up in the car. They're driving off. They think they've defeated the tall man, and Reggie's trying to flirt with her, and all of a sudden reaches up and pulls off a chunk of her skin, and there's like raw, bloody mess underneath. And then she attacks him, and they fall out of the car, and it looks like he like goes on the window like, ah, Mike, and then Liz and Mike are in the back seat, and she goes, it's all just a dream. Or one of them, I don't even remember which one says, it's all just a dream. And all of a sudden the tall man's like, no, it's not. And psh, crashes through the window and pulls him out. And it's almost the exact same ending as the first one with the crashing through
Hmm.
the window. So I think that's kind of the theme of the movie. Is it a dream or is it not a dream? You never really know because half the time it's a dream, half the time it's not a dream. And then they show you one thing and then they tell you that that wasn't real. And then they show you a different thing. And then it's like you can't trust your senses.
Yeah, this is like the main thing in this movie, unless it's like a puzzle piece, unless you watch it over and over and over again. Not just the one, but one, two, three. There's a
Yep.
five, six.
Yeah, there's more. We can continue down the Phantasm trail. But anyway, so
Yeah.
then part three picks up right where part two left off. So again, it picks up right where the first one left off. And Reggie somehow survived his attack and goes to rescue Mike and Liz, and they're outside of the car. The car blows up, and Liz is getting her face eaten off by one of the dwarfs. So hope you weren't too attached to her, because she's dead. She went through all that ordeal in part two to get rescued and saved and fight the tall man, only to get her face eaten off before she even gets a chance to do anything in part three. What a
Those
shame.
dwarfs are really aggressive.
They are.
They
And then,
really are.
yep. And then, so then they say that Mike's in the hospital for 2 years to explain the difference between the time difference. And this is where the demon nurse comes in that we were talking about earlier. Reggie's there. Why does he always show up right when how does he know? Like, I guess maybe he just shows up every day, but it seems like whenever he shows up, that's when the shit hits the fan. Because he just happens to show up when the demon nurse comes out after him. But
Maybe it's like again, like maybe it's like a spiritual warning, like, hey, there's something going about to, shit hit the fan. So maybe it's
yep.
like a little warning, like, but it just seems like he was like kind of like ignoring it.
Right.
It's
Yep.
like, do you want to have shit hit the fan?
That could be. They knock the nurse out, and then it's like little explosions go off around her head, like with yellow pus, and then one of the balls comes out. And as Breezy said, part three's got a lot more balls than the other movies.
Yeah, because I seen that part three first before Matt did. And
hmm
I'm like, Matt, there's so many balls in this movie. And I was like, this is not a sexual comment. This is like legit more balls in this movie.
They realized that people wanted to see the balls, and so they're giving the people what they wanted and showing balls left and right in your face.
Yep.
Um, and so one of the spheres, aka balls, pops out of the woman's head, tries to kill him. They stop it, and then there's his dead brother from the first movie, Jody, but his spirit is inside a black ball, and they can communicate with them, and he like tells them like stuff, and then just like they decide to go like on a trip to stop the tall man. They're gonna go on a quest, and so they're going down the road and they find this town where basically everyone's dead, and they just randomly like, oh, what happened? Where does it? Somewhere at some point he gets kidnapped or he gets locked in his trunk by these three like hooligans, and they have a pink hearse. And I think this
Yeah.
part three is trying to be a little bit more goofy than the other ones because it's like there's a pink fucking hearse.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to see that. I'm like, okay, now this color is pink. What the like? Did they just threw that in there just because, or just to be funny, or what? Because
Right.
that's cheesy.
Yeah, exactly. So they lock Reggie in the back of the car, of his own car, and they drive to, I think randomly they just stop at this house and they go in, but unfortunately they picked the house of psycho Kevin McAllister from Home Alone, who's some kid that's rigged his whole house with booby traps and stuff, and also just happens to be a crack shot with a pistol. This is Tim, is his name. So Tim kills all three of them, and lets Reggie out, or he lets Reggie out of the trunk. They kill all three of the people. I don't remember in what order that happens. They bury them, and then Reggie's gonna leave Tim with a woman to take care of him, but he hides in the trunk. They go down the road. I can't even remember where Mike is during all this
Oh,
bullshit.
oh, wait, so like his wasn't it his like his dad and because there was like little boy and the mom were at that cemetery,
Okay.
remember?
Yep.
And the her the no not the hearse the casket was in the ground and
Yep.
they're about to leave, but the boy stayed there and didn't want to leave, and he was holding that American flag, so he must have been in the military.
Oh yeah.
And then his mom's like, don't worry, let's go. And the little boy's like, they should have been buried him by now. And the mom's like, well, they will probably get to it tomorrow. Well, they end up leaving. Here comes that hearse with the guy.
Oh yeah. The tall man.
And
That's
then,
right.
yep. Oh no, the tall man. Sorry, tall
Yep.
man. And to
hmm
bring it up and put it in the hearse. And then the mom came to see what is going on. And then all of a sudden, like he grabs her and puts in the casket with this dead guy.
Yeah.
And then the kid comes in, then he goes in the hearse, but the mom and the dead person is like
Yeah.
holding each other. It was kind of creepy.
Yeah,
But yeah.
definitely. Okay, thanks. Yeah, I was totally spacing that. So the kid that's how the kid knows about the tall man and all his minions and uh basically they've been wiping out entire towns and he's been digging up all the bodies and turning them into dwarfs. And there's a new kind of creature they call lurker, which kind of looks like My Bloody Valentine, like they got a gas mask kind of
Mhm.
thing. But they're apparently the ones that dig up the graves, or I don't remember what's what, but anyway, they get to a morgue, and there's more balls. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's two women just show up, and they're like fighters, and one's got nunchucks, and the one gets hit with the spear, and just like Breezy was saying, right in the head again. Again, for the third time, 3 movies in a row. It's like we get it. You don't have to do it in every single movie. Is
Mhm.
that like their trademark? But and this one's the tomato soup again. This one you get the full spout of tomato soup spray. Looks a little bit more like blood in this one than the first one.
Yeah.
But so that was I don't even remember her name. Tanisha. So her friend, partner, whatever, Rocky joins the crew. Do they even explain where they came from?
No, they just showed up out of
They just
nowhere.
show up out of nowhere.
I'm
They
like,
may
who
be
are these two people?
right.
They just
They
showed up out of nowhere.
I think they maybe said something like they were on the trail of the tall man too for some reason, but I might have just made that up in my head because my brain couldn't handle the fact that they just showed up out of nowhere.
Or your brain is trying to, it's like, okay, I'm so confused about this movie. I'm trying to put this scene into this scene. This didn't make sense. This is not real. This is real. So it's like your mind just makes your own stuff up,
Just make up
because
your own
mine did.
movie. Just yeah. Just picture the tall man and some balls and some hitchhikers and kill some people. Spear to the head with tomato soup. Jawas that are murderous and rampage and yeah, the guy from my bloody couple versions of the guy from My Bloody Valentine. But so they go on the trail to fight the tall man and they look on the map and it's like the world's biggest mausoleum and they're like, "Well, that sounds like a place tall man would hang out." So they go there and they they find a vat of like liquid nitrogen for cryogenics for like freezing people's head. And then Mike all of a sudden has a flashback to the very first movie when he's standing outside the ice cream truck and the tall man goes, "Oh." And I even said in that episode, I was like, they show the tall man just stop and they never explain what the hell's happening. And Mike's like, "Oh, he doesn't like the cold. He's
Mhm.
vulnerable to the cold." And it's like, "Well, you could have brought that to our attention yesterday." No, they didn't say that, but it was like basically along those lines.
Yeah, they have finally in part, you would think they would explain a little bit more in part two.
Hmm.
Why did it take this long in part three to, I'm like, oh, doesn't like cold.
Yep, exactly. So they
Oh,
let me know if I'm forgetting anything, but they managed to trap the tall man in like a freezer room, and there's a glass window, and they're watching him, and he's like all freezing, and all of a sudden chunks of his face start falling off, and there's a gold ball in his head, and it comes flying out, flies right through the window, and this one's got spinny blades on the sides that come out.
see, that's what I was saying. Like maybe like on the other ball, since he has like a ball in his head,
Hmm.
maybe those other balls, like maybe he's controlling them with his like with
That
his
makes
head
sense.
and thinking, that's what
They're
I
all
was thinking about it.
yeah, maybe they're all like connected, like a tall man Bluetooth network.
Yeah, you wish.
Yeah. And so Reggie reaches for the near. Oh, actually, he comes out with the blades first, but this one's got 3 blades instead of 2 blades. It's even cooler looking. And he reaches, he sees it, he feels a handle. Oh, good, it must be a weapon. Oh no, it's a toilet plunger. And then he toilet plunges. We forgot a whole thing where the 3 hooligans they killed come back as zombies, and there's a lot of fighting, and one of them gets a sphere to the head, and then it spins around like wee, 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 wee,
Mhm.
and flies off. And it's kind of silly and kind of cool, but kind of dumb all at the same
Yup.
time. And that's a good way
Very
to sum
cheesy.
up. Yeah, exactly. Very cheesy. I think it even makes goofy sound effects too.
Hmm.
Um, but anyway, we forgot about that part. But anyway, so now Reggie, armed with the toilet plunger of destiny, manages to catch the gold ball in its blades, and then the blades come out the side, the spin blades. And again, I wonder how does um, all this shit fit inside the ball? Another part we totally forgot about. At some point, Jody, through the means of communication of ball to the head, um, said that they showed like the tall man dissecting a guy like a dead person, and he took this little tiny piece of brain out and puts it inside one of the spheres and goes
Yeah,
click
see?
shut. Yeah, and then he turns the body into the dwarfs, and so there you go. That's how you do it. That's and so they put the gold ball into the liquid nitrogen. It breaks off the handle. They shut it. Good. Problem solved. They're gonna leave. They say, "Hey, we should go back and investigate." And Roxy's like, "Nope, I've had enough with this undead bullshit. Peace." And she's out of there. um, and then they go back in, and they're like, "Oh, Mike's said they see Mike. The tall man did surgery on him. He has a gold ball inside his head, and then they show him, and his eyes are like balls instead of eyes. They're like silvery." And then they're like, "Oh, he said there was thousands of them, but what was he talking about? Do you think maybe the spheres? I don't know." But they try to find the gate. Oh my gosh, there's spheres everywhere. They pin Reggie against the wall, and then the tall man busts through the window and takes the guy out, and it's the end. It's the same ending of all three movies. It's the same.
Yeah, see?
The end. I know I got a little crazy at the end there, but really that's all my brain could handle. That's how my brain interpreted it.
Yeah, you were having a tough time with, well, this particular series,
Yeah.
but Matt was saying, like on the third one, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I am so phantasm out right now. My brain cannot handle this. I'm like,
Yep.
you and me, Matt.
Yep, exactly. But they're classics. And
Yeah.
I do almost kind of want to go back and watch them all again just to see what, if anything, I missed, or if they really are as just scattered and all over the place and weird as I think they are. But I think that's part of the point. You know,
Yep.
there's a line. Jody appears right away at the or towards the end before they go back, and he says something like, seeing is believing, but it doesn't mean understanding. And I think that's like the theme of Phantasm is, yeah, you saw all this weird shit, but what does it mean? You don't understand, you know? So
Hmm.
I think that sums it up right there. So what would you rate Phantasm 2, Breezy?
Oh
What did
man,
what did we rate part one? I don't even remember what I rated part one.
I rated that one low.
Yeah, I think like four, maybe three.
I think three I did. I like this one, part two. I like this one a little tad more.
Uh-huh.
So I will give this one a four.
Okay. And
That
then
to
what
me. What
about,
about you?
okay, so I think I gave part one, I can't remember if I gave it a three or four, but I want to give part two 1 point higher. So I'm gonna say
Done.
I'm gonna say a four for part two. Um, because it's got some cool stuff. It's got some really creepy imagery and some creepy themes, and it kind of works on a sort of surreal, dreamy sort of level, but at the same time, it's sort of just discombobulated and cheesy and kind of dumb. So I rate it four.
The only thing that I liked about it was um it left off on part one and
Hmm.
then part no, it picked up at the end of part one. I did like that one.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I didn't expect that at all.
Yeah, me either.
And then at the end and then part three, they pick up on part end of part two, which that's what I like.
Yep. Not all horror movies do that. Like
No.
I can think of a few where the sequel just has absolutely nothing to do with the ones that came before it. And it's just like, yep, whatever, you know? Okay, well, what do you rate part three?
This one I will rate probably a little bit higher. Five.
Yeah, me too. I like this one a little bit. I told Breezy, I said I like two a tiny bit better than one, and I like three a tiny bit better than two. So they're progressively getting better. Maybe by the time we get to five, it'll be amazing. But I'll give part three a five, rate at 1 point higher. I like that they sort of leaned into the silliness of it a little bit, and sort of with the goofy sound effects and like the head spinning around and like the toilet plunger, and they kind of leaned into the goofiness of it a little bit. Just still, I don't know where those women came from. They just showed up,
Mhm.
and why did the thugs decide to stop at Tim's house? I don't know. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's just you just got to kind of roll with it. It just
Yeah.
so.
I did like how part three kind of explains a little bit more. Like
Hmm.
not so much like the boss, because you can pick up on that pretty much if you watch one, two, and three.
Hmm.
However, I do like how they explained how the tall man is afraid or get killed with cold. And I
Yep.
do like this. They show the morgue, like inside the morgue, a little bit more.
Yep. Oh, another thing I totally forgot about is there was a part where the tall man was trying to come through a gate and they shut it and his hands got cut off and then his hands morphed into like these purple squid looking things and were like they were like monster hands and had his finger up Reggie's nose and he had to pull the finger out of his nose. That was another kind of goofy part. Yep. So there you have it. Phantasm 2 and 3. I don't know if our fan is going to be any happier with
Yeah.
us, but
Hey, he said it will make his day,
there you go.
so we hope we make we hope that we made your day. But man, I hope it gets better with on four and five.
Yep, exactly.
I'm really hoping.
For sure. And if we would have been thinking, we would have did a Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah, well, I totally forgot that Friday the 13th lands on this
I
Friday. So I'm like,
I
oh shit.
I did too until just this morning. Bummer. Oh
That's all right.
well. But thanks to our fans. Keep their fan requests coming. Keep the comments and the likes and the chats and share us on our on social media. Share us with your friends. Tell your neighbors and loved ones and family, and get the word out of Talk Bloody to Me. And thank you so much.
Thank you.